Hi, this is Don McAllister and welcome to another edition of Screencasts Online. Well, one thing we're not short of on both the Mac and iOS is writing or note-taking apps. I've covered many in the past and have pretty much settled on Ulyssess and Scrivener as my main writing applications of choice. However, there's a new kit on the block which I've had a large number of requests to check out. So this week I'm going to be taking a look at Bear by Shiny Frog. Now, Bear brings some additional features to writing and note-taking apps, as well as being a potential replacement for Evernote. It's available on the Mac, iPhone and iOS, but uses a fairly controversial business model. So let's take a look at Bear over on the Mac App Store.